Welcome to the Strategy Edge Season 2, the leadership sessions. Today, I'm really excited to introduce Santhosh Rao, the Associate Vice President of Toyota Industries. To me, I think HR in this day and age is absolutely critical. If you look at international studies, more than half the population are quitting. And what does that mean? It means that people come to work, but they're not fully really there anyway, right? So mentally, they're just not there. They're coming in, they're doing the bare minimum, and they're leaving. But having said that, I always believe that you cannot have engaged customers without having engaged employees first. So to me, it is absolutely critical because the business outcomes you can get just from engaging staff, from the fact that you get increased loyalty, you get increased discretionary effort so that they go above and beyond, and so on and so forth. But then the flow-on impact to customers is absolutely huge. So hence, I'm really excited to talk to Santhosh Rao today. And we're going to talk about, what we need to do in this day and age to truly engage staff. So to kick off, 27 years in HR. First of all, what drove you to actually, you join the whole HR kind of career path?
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. When I go back maybe 27 years back, those days, if you remember, we did not have many opportunities or rather awareness about the kind of career opportunities. So those days, if I remember, there are two reasons why I chose HR. One, of course, I had a role model whom I wanted to be, like first my relative who was also HR person.
Yeah.
Second, of course, my interest was always to take up a career where I can keep interacting with the people, connect to the people. So that was my passion.
Yeah.
So I think these are the two reasons why I chose to, go for HR.
Oh, cool. Sounds good. So given your 27 years of experience, can you share with our listeners, some innovative approaches to employee engagement that you've seen or encountered or implemented through your career?
Yeah, of course, if I look at my career, maybe out of 27 years, about 21 years I spent in Toyota. So normally I should speak more about Toyota. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So when I talk about employee engagement aspect and the interpretation of employee engagement, it can go to any level. Of course, it starts from a small activity like it could be engaging the family or it could be sports. That is one way of interpreting employee engagement. But if you look at the macro perspective, it could be, developing the person. So it may be even at the strategic level. How do you develop a person to take up his next level or succession planning? Everything is a part of employee engagement.
Yes.
So in that way, the part of, HRD itself is an employee engagement activity. That is my interpretation for that.
Mm-hmm.
So my experience with employee engagement activity is that, whole aspect, what I mean to say is in my company, it is integrated with Toyota philosophy.
Right.
Yeah, where we talk about the principles like respect for people or continuous improvement, etc. So all activities, whatever we do, are integrated with this, which leads to employee engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very unique, I would say, especially looking at our company culture, our philosophy, our values. It is very unique to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the thing I have found in my experience is a lot of organizations have things like vision, values, mission, philosophy, so on and so forth, just like you mentioned.
Yeah.
But they just sit on a poster in the wall somewhere. They're not, it doesn't come alive and it doesn't have any life as such, because it's not acted on. So what happens in Toyota that takes those words and makes it real for staff?
I think it's a clear-cut percolation of the thinking from the top to the bottom line.
Yeah.
So what happens is we have something called quotient system, which is the objective setting or vision setting. It starts from maybe like global level, then it passes on to country level, then it comes to the company, and then from there it percolates down to let's say department level or section level. Then finally it becomes an objective of the person.
Right.
So there's a direct connect between what the person does and what is the vision of the company.
Right.
So as long as he sees the connect,
Right.
So this becomes reality.
Right.
Else, as you rightly said, it becomes just on the paper and person does something.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that's true. It's good that you mentioned this. There's 2 points I'll make in terms of what I've seen. And it's good to see a real life example where it's real. Whenever we do employee engagement studies, one thing I can tell you for sure, we do employee engagement studies where we ask people to rate the leaders, the organization, their job, whether you live the values or not, and so on and so forth, right? If the leadership rating is low, right, all the other ratings can become low. It's almost like it starts from the top. If it doesn't start from the top, it doesn't work. The second thing I found, which is very interesting because you've actually mentioned it as well, is that one of the biggest drivers of employee engagement is the fact that they understand the strategy and they're personally committed to making it successful. So it's not just they understand the strategy and they're not going to do anything with it. So we call these people champions. So when we do employee engagement studies, we identify who are these champions, people who understand the strategy and are personally committed to making it successful. Now, you also have some people who understand your strategy, but they're not personally committed. We call them bystanders. And on the flip side, you have people who don't understand the strategy and not personally committed to it, and we call these people weaklings. There's a fourth group, of course, which is quite funny. And this fourth group is people who don't understand the strategy and direction, but are very committed to it. We call them loose cannons. And these are people who are committed to anything and everything. They're just positive, happy people. Even if they don't understand something, they're committed. Now, all this is fine, but the most important part about this is if you are a champion, then you go above and beyond. You give discretionary effort. You are loyal. All those great indicators come to the fore. And when you think about it, when it comes to communicating the strategy and making sure people are personally committed to it, who does that? It's leadership. And I think the next point you mentioned was really cool as well. The line of sight. I believe a lot of people, when they come to work, they want to be linked to something bigger than themselves. So when they can see, okay, this is the overall, objective, strategy, direction, and this is my little part in it, that's when engagement really happens.
Yes. Yeah, I just want to add, whatever you said. The first point, many times the leader fails, others also fail, right? So it is like a chain.
Yes.
It happens many times.
Yes.
It happens because the people are not very clear what is their role or responsibilities and what is the demand.
Correct.
So what happens is, for example, now every person is doing the same job.
Yes.
Every person has taken the same target.
Yes.
So unless you clearly bifurcate what should be the role and responsibility of a person at this level, maybe higher level or maybe leadership level, this is what happens. So I think this is very, very important aspect which people must be careful. Exactly. Otherwise what happens, company fixes the target and till the, let's say, bottom-most person, he also takes the same target. And that's where this failure starts.
Yeah, exactly. So there's this Harley Davidson story, right, where it's a production line and a brand new Harley Davidson model is coming down the production line, and a production line worker halts the production, correct? Completely halts it. Now you would think to yourself, this is a very basic production line worker. How can he halt the production line? Because it's going to cost them thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? The fact of the matter is that the culture in Harley Davidson is such that that is okay. Now, the issue was, in the petrol tank, I don't remember the exact details, in the petrol tank, there are 3 soldering points, right? And it should have been 4, and that's why he stopped the production line. He didn't get into trouble for it. In fact, his management congratulated him. And when I shared this story with Santhosh, he then shared another story about Toyota, which I will now get him to share.
Yeah, I think this is a very, very important aspect, especially being automobile companies. We are dealing with something which can, take the life of the people if you don't handle it properly. So as a company, we have defined always safety first. Then comes the quality, right? Maybe cost is later, then productivity. So I think safety of activities or quality of our activities comes first. So then, as I was telling you, that our people are fully empowered. So if something goes wrong, right? They need not do anything. They need to follow a rule, something called stop, call, wait. Right? There is a stop button. You just press the stop button. Wait there for system to take care. Yeah. So even a bottomless person, it may be an outsourced employee, or it may be just blue collar worker. So he's fully empowered to stop the line if there is an issue. Even the example what you gave, I think it is much above. But in our case, let's say there is some small scratch. So if there is a very small scratch, which actually may be difficult to make out, but he can make out because of his expertise.
His experience.
But immediately he can stop them. Anything goes wrong, immediately he has to stop the line. So in that way, we don't look at the line stoppage hours, or first is ultimately it's a safety and quality of the product. Then comes everything.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really good. So thinking about the new generation of workers now, right? So you have your Gen Zs, and their whole approach to work is different, in the sense that they want work that is purposeful and meaningful.
Yes.
They want to make a difference now. In our day and age, if you said, oh, I want to do this, they'd say, oh, wait for 5 years, get some experience, and then you can do it. But the Gen Zs, they want to make a difference right now. The second part of the issue is that the old command and control style of leadership really doesn't work with this group. You can't tell them to do something. You've got to explain it to them, right? So how do you, with all your experience, tackle this issue of managing this young generation?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question. Yeah, I think Gen Z, we just started experiencing. And if you look at the organization, many of the organizations, they do have this 3-gen workforce.
Yes.
Maybe baby boomers sitting at maybe at top level, and then we have Gen X, then we have Gen Z just entering. Yeah. So I think it's a very common problem, and it's very difficult for the maybe Gen X or for that, and understand the aspirations of Gen Z. So Gen Z, obviously, it's natural, but they come with a lot of aspiration. They work for the purpose, maybe not for the money, because they are well-to-do, and also they are tech savvy. This also led to people become a little less emotional. So in terms of connecting to them is little difficult, or it's a challenge. Yeah. So even their dependence on parents itself is less. That's how, because of the economic conditions, and
exactly.
And also they don't want to work in maybe a very structured way. So they don't look at job as long-term commitment. Right? So if you're not happy, then just
leave.
Look at something else. And also even gig workforce concept is also there, so they can work here for 4 hours, then work for something else for 4 hours. So I think this is a changing scenario. But what I feel is the most important thing is to understand them, right? So especially for the maybe the early generation, Gen X, or so those people, they need to understand. So organization need to take a lot of steps to make the others to understand Gen Z, I suppose. It's totally different, generation. But what we need to do is, maybe, for example, we talk about reverse mentoring, right? So we encourage people to, let's say, go to the colleges, keep interacting with the students. So that's where actually you understand the aspirations. In fact, I do this very frequently, right? So when you interact with them, you understand what are their aspirations, what do they want to do. So I think this reverse mentoring or enhanced interaction with the academia gives a lot of good insights. Or get into any events where Gen Z is participating, how they organize. Right? When you see in person, or when you see it physically, it brings a lot of changes. Right? So then accordingly you can mold yourself to their needs. I think that is what is important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really a case of empathizing with them, understanding what their drivers are, and then, making sure once you understand it, you can use it to influence them to get the most out of them at work. I presume you do employee engagement studies to understand the level of engagement. What key metrics do you focus on to understand how effective, how engaged staff are in the organization?
Yeah, it's a difficult question, and of course we do not have a good answer for that. But I would say, the quantification and assessment of employee engagement, it's a bit difficult, but it is possible. So if I look at my experience, we try to see it in two different ways. One is on the job performance, right? How engaged the person is on the job, and his contribution maybe of the job. So we use tools like it could be a formal surveys or questionnaires, or it could be the manager's observation to see how person is performing, or the feedback session where we talk to the members, or it could be employee contribution. There are many things. For example, it can vary from simple metrics like absenteeism. Right? Let's say unplanned absenteeism. That shows the person is not really engaged. Or let's say in our case, in our culture, we have something called Kaizen. It's a suggestion for improvement. Right? So how many number of Kaizens he gives, whether he is really interested.
That's interesting.
Or, let's say self-learning. In fact, many of the employees, they do take their own courses, they to study further, or they opt for some of the courses which we run. Right. So these are the things. Or if I look at little higher level, I also try to gauge it through subordinate development. Let's say if my supervisor is showing a lot of interest in developing his subordinate, that's the employee engagement what he does. Right? So I think from traditional method to latest technologies, I think we can assess with the data management system is there. So I think this is where we can, since we are from manufacturing, we try to assess by these kind of metrics.
Kind of quality metrics.
Quality metrics.
So let me share with you, in terms of when we've done employee engagement studies, so we've done national employee engagement studies in Australia, and we've also done client studies, of course. These are the key drivers we see. Okay? So the key drivers of employee engagement. One is staff feeling valued. And in that, you've got valued means they feel appreciated for the work that they do, and they feel recognized.
Right.
And that recognition is not money. It's just sometimes a pat on the back, a public acknowledgement. So recognition, so that's number one. Second point I've already talked about, which is the understanding and commitment to strategy, the champion concept. Leadership that are positive role models and inspiring and, set the standard for the whole organization and the direction. And this you mentioned already, which is a line of sight. So they know that they're connected to the overall strategy and that they are making a difference. Is this what you found with your experience?
So ultimately, we talk about the organization culture, where employee engagement is a part of it. So I would not like to see employee engagement as separate aspect. It's part of my organization culture. So basically, let's say we always define saying that we should have a culture of family, right? So let's say your supervisors are like brothers. So what happens if younger brother is not engaged? So it's elder brother's job to engage him.
Wow, that's very good.
So similarly, these kind of messages are driving to the supervisors, right? If my let's say my member is not well, then this is the duty of the supervisor to take care. So always the work starts with the health check. Right? Similarly, even this employee engagement also we try to see as a family. Right? So maybe we always say top management is like a father. So then maybe supervisors are like brothers. Okay. Then you have younger brothers who are maybe at suffer. So employee engagement activities are responsibilities of the supervisors or the mid management. So we keep motivating them also. So if something is not happening, then we don't catch hold of the subordinate. It is the supervisors. That's our culture. So if some people are not engaged fully, then it's the managers who's accountable. Not the rest. So that's our culture. So I think it's a part of our whole culture, I would say.
Wow. And is this messaging communicated like to all staff to say we are a family and this is how it works and you're supposed to support one another and so on?
As I said, actually there are if you look at as the organizational communications system is very, very strong. There are multi-channels and the same message is percolated down, right, to avoid maybe the ambiguity or conflicts. So in fact there are formal sessions on company culture. So that's where we try to drive the values given by maybe Sakesh Toda, who is our founder. So these values are given by him. So even till today it is practice. That means that is how it is strongly communicated and still it will continue. So this is the power of the communication what we have. maybe even more than 100 years, still the values continue.
Still relevant. Yeah. No, that's true. And when you think about it, strong values never go out of date. Yeah, it doesn't really change. Cool, sounds good. How can organizations stay ahead of the curve, right, in kind of providing fulfilling and enriching experiences for their staff? In today's dynamic work environment, you've got challenges like digitalization and AI and, Gen Z and all these, things coming together. How do you stay ahead of the curve? Like, how do you make sure that you're prepared for some of these changes?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Things are changing very drastically. The disruptive technology is going to come up. Already it is there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think there are two things which are going to be very, very important. One, of course, employees always look at the organization that they should be being cared. So how to build a culture of care and concern where employees feel that they are valued and somebody is there with them. I think that is very important from the employee's perspective. And second thing I would like to say that value addition. So ultimately in the future, what is the interest of the employees? What kind of value addition company can do? I think that will really take the organization to the next level. Yeah.
You touched on a really important point. It's about making sure employees feel cared for and valued. I talked about the fact that you can't have engaged customers if you don't have engaged employees first. And that comes down to everything. In a car, it's not just when the car goes for service, it comes down to the quality of the car. You're saying, like a little scratch, if a production line worker finds it, they stop the whole production line. That is the bridge. So when you look at employee engagement and customer engagement, the bridge is actually emotion. So if you want your customers to feel valued and cared for, you've got to make sure your staff feel valued and cared for first. That is how that connect happens.
Exactly.
Has that been your experience?
Yes. I think employee connect is, I would say that's our strength. The culture of the company is that, as I said, the value given by the founder itself is like company should have a family-like atmosphere.
Yeah.
So that has been percolated down and that has been practiced by each one.
That is really good. It's interesting. Smaller organizations, it's very easy to have a family-like culture, but to do it in a big organization that's global and at scale, that is really commendable to have that kind of culture.
Yeah, and also when I say family, it is not only, only with the employees. We connect beyond that. In fact, if you look at the events, what we organize, it is for the employees' families as well.
Right.
There's very frequent visit of employees' family members to the factory. Right. They see where they work and what kind of conditions are there. I think that connect. In fact, many of the family members, they can recognize HR people personally, right?
Yes.
So they come and talk to us even when we went outside. I think that is where we make the differences. Yeah. So there are many forums. It could be family day, it could be family sports, it could be competitions what we organize for. It could be safety month, environment month.
Yeah.
So there are many opportunities where employees' family can
also come.
Yeah. In fact, they know the company culture better than maybe the employees sometimes. So I think that is how it makes a lot of difference.
No, absolutely. So looking ahead, right? What do you envision the future needs of employees are going to be like? And how can organizations like Toyota proactively prepare for these trends? What's going to change in the future, and to remain competitive and attractive to employees?
Yeah, as I said, maybe the future is going to be very, very challenging.
Yeah,
and the generation is also going to change. So we always talk about change in terms of people, in terms of economy, in terms of technology, in terms of environment. So all these are going to throw major challenges. So if you look at even industrialization, we always talk about Industry 1, Industry 2, Industry 3. You must be aware right now Industry 4 is there. But Industry 5, if you look at now, the next phase, it is going to be people-centric. Right? So Industry 4 is basically technology center. We talk about AI and IoT, all those things comes under it. robotics, industry 4.
Robotics.
Yeah, robotics. But industry 5, if you look at how you integrate people with the technology. So I think this is where we need to get prepared, and we need to put the people in center. That's always people-centric approach. So this is where whatever the aspect I said, that is going to count for the future. So industry 5 is going to, because you have, let's say, cobots, then we have robots working just next to the person. So how do you make the person also get up to the speed of the robot? So I think there are many challenges which is going to come up.
Yeah.
So, but ultimately, as long as you take care of the people aspect, so technology is always easy, which can be managed by people.
Correct. So what you're saying is, as long as you have core foundational cultures, we treat our staff like family.
Yes.
Then you find a way to marry the people bit and the technology bit to make it work.
Exactly.
As opposed to being at conflict. Right. Well, that sounds great. Okay. So, given your 27 years of experience and your excellent experience at kind of Toyota, where you had an organization with strong leadership, a strong sense of values, a family kind of feel, and a global presence. So, managing this kind of cultural elements globally and at scale, what advice do you have for young HR managers? So, how you explain, you took up HR because you saw someone else who was an inspiration. What can you share with young HR people? I've done a few guest lectures in India recently, and quite a few graduates were doing HR. Yeah. Share some insights with them in terms of what they need to do to be successful, the rewards and joys of being in HR as an example, because you talk about how you love connecting with people and how you had so much fun over the years because that is who you are, so that they feel inspired about going into HR.
Yeah, I think the coming generation, at least for the HR, I would say they should have 5 or 6 qualities.
Yes.
First one, which is first and foremost, is a passion.
Yeah.
So passion, basically passion for the profession.
Yeah.
So we don't want anybody to take the profession maybe forcibly or by choice of the parents. But as long as he has got the passion, there will be pride, there will be drive to do the things differently. That's why I always keep telling the new generation. And also the openness. When I say openness, it is basically I am talking about the adaptability, the flexibility. Normally, when I talk to the younger generation, they say, "No, I don't want that just job. I always want to be recruiter. I always want to be a training man." So that is maybe at the initial stage. They should not have any preference for similar plans. So it should be basically how they strengthen their foundation.
Yes.
Of the career. I think that is very important. So that,
and then specialized.
So I think that is where the openness comes. Then, of course, we always talk about the perseverance. When we say perseverance, is basically the mind to win. And always we talk about creating a difference. How do you create a wow feeling?
Yes.
When you take up some job, it could be an assignment, it could be whatever the activity you do, or it could be organizing some event. How do you create that wow factor? I think that is very important for the people. And finally, the technology, because normally what happens, technology is drastically changing, and unless the even people who are just entering the profession, if they're not geared up, then again there will be a gap. So I think this is what I would say that and of course finally there should be people champion. So in terms of teamwork, in terms of humbleness, so the qualities like that. So I always say these are the 5 things which are very, very important. So
absolutely. And when you do all these things, as you've done so many years, how does that make you feel internally about your work?
Yeah, I always feel very happy with whatever I have accomplished so far. So it is not it's satisfaction, I would say.
Yeah.
So I could give a good contribution to the organization which I served, and also good contribution to the professions. Also, I could engage in a lot of my passion activities. Like, for example, I always get connected with academia. During my weekends, I go to the colleges, talk to the students. That's my passion. So that one, and also in the journey, I have developed many of the young professionals. I think when I look at their growth, I get a lot of satisfaction.
Yes, no, absolutely, absolutely. That's great, and it's amazing, and it's great to hear all these things that happen. I find sometimes, you look at a brand like Toyota and you go, oh, they make cars, but you don't understand what happens inside, that makes that whole quality happen.
Right.
So thank you very much for sharing all your insights and your knowledge and your experience. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed this session, and I hope you understand the importance of HR in terms of driving business outcomes and customer engagement. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.